Hello, hello. I'm Zachary Hines, and this is what you missed at the Straz. Welcome. I'm Zachary Hines, and I am with the ever so fabulous LeeAnn Day Douglas.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great because we're talking about Pose,
Yes, we are.
which also means we're talking about Madonna.
Oh gosh. Because that's always what you want to talk about. Yeah.
Oh, if I can find a route to talk about Madonna, then I will never stop talking.
So yeah, we're talking about season 2. We enjoyed season 1 so much. We're talking about season 2, but we're going to leave you a cliffhanger. We're only going to talk about half of season 2.
Yes, this is a two-parter, folks.
Yep.
I mean, we had to have a Pose trilogy because we covered season 1 in one episode. Now we're talking about season 2, part 1, and next we'll conclude with the end of season 2. And I feel like I want to start this off by um, an ad that actually I have hanging in my bedroom. It was a call for dancers for Madonna's Blind Ambition tour.
Mhm.
And it's like saying all the different styles of dance that they're looking for. Vogue is one of them. And
Right.
it ends with wimps and wannabes need not apply. I want to end every kind of job call or call the artists with that.
You can make that your wallpaper. So,
Yes.
very nice.
And Damon and Ricky definitely were not wimps or wannabes.
They were not. They were not. So you got to back up and tell people what you're talking about.
Yes. So we skip about a year ahead from the end of season 1. It's 1990, a new decade, and Madonna's new song, Vogue, is taking the world by storm.
It is. I remember when that happened.
Really?
Oh yeah. How old were you?
I was 1.
In 1990?
Yeah.
Ah. I was 19, man.
I was born on the waves of Vogue.
Oh, well, it was right when I was in college. It was a big thing. So, yeah, yeah. I mean, the characters in Pose are only a couple years older than me at the time. So,
Oh my god, were you like one of those girls in line to take the Vogue classes?
not at all. No, I was not. I mean, I didn't I loved the song, but I didn't understand what they were doing. Now that I've watched Pose, I appreciate it much more than I did at the time. But I mean, Madonna started becoming famous when I was in 8th or ninth grade, and she made like the lace over anything really popular and the fluorescent. So we had like fluorescent shoestrings and fluorescent everything, or you have like green fluorescent lace gloves with the fingers cut off that you would wear to try to be like Madonna.
Yes.
Yes, yes. So that was when I was in junior high. So yeah, it was pretty fun. Those are good times, man.
Ugh, I'm so jealous. What a time. What a time.
Yeah, so I remember when Vogue came out. It was great. It was great.
And
So
so this is arguably the biggest, most powerful woman in music making her new hit song all about this underground Harlem ball culture
yeah,
in New York
yeah.
and this style of dance that they
Popular.
popularized.
Yeah, you can say it.
Ooh, sorry, I just had a mini stroke there.
I'm glad you're okay. Yeah, so
um,
they're really, really excited about it, about the fact that she's making them mainstream, you
and
know?
yeah, it's really I love Blanca reminds me so much of my mom in some ways. Like I love that Blanca was just like this is happening, this is an opportunity. She's like putting us on the map. We need to seize the moment. Like people are going to be looking for us. and like we have an opportunity to like have our lifestyle become mainstream. And so she's like pushing everyone to like dream big and fight to like get whatever they want.
Yeah, and that it really is the focus of the second season, right? Blanca has just come off winning Mother of the Year at the very end of the first season. And so now she's pushing her children to follow their dreams. So the first one she starts pushing is Angel, and she starts pushing her to go for a modeling career.
Oh my goodness, what a mom move when she was like hiding in the cab because Angel is working the pier again, even though she said she wouldn't. And this cab pulls up, and so Angel walks up to it like it's a potential client, and then Blanca.
Rolls down the window. What the hell are you doing out here? Yeah, it was hilarious. Yeah, yeah. So
And she gets her to apply for the Ford, what was it called? It's like the new
new
face
face, yeah, of the year.
of
Yeah.
1990.
Mhm.
And she doesn't believe that she can be mainstream and or have opportunity like that. But Blanca, she just has this blind determination and belief in her children that I think
Mhm.
is so beautiful. It makes me cry. This show makes me cry at least once an episode.
Oh my gosh, and this season especially was really just tugged on the
Oh
heartstrings.
my god, the first 10 minutes they're going to Hart Island to pay respects to a friend that died, a ex-boyfriend of Prey, and I never even knew about this island. I had to look it up, where it's really just where they have homeless people or people who didn't have funerals or a burial. They
Unclaimed
just it's
body.
like a
Mhm.
mass, yeah, grave. And just the image of all the, they're trying to find him, and the woman directing them said, "Oh, the people with AIDS are in the back because we don't want them
We don't want them
infecting."
infecting anybody. Yeah, and they're like, they're already dead,
Right.
but even in death, they were pushed to the side.
Yeah, denied even the smallest dignities. And season 1 was really powerful, but season 2 really, I mean, I can't, all the funeral, they play this whole thing each episode. There's, they're going to a few different funerals, and there's even a joke between Sandra Bernhardt's character, who's the doctor for Preytel, and Blanca, where Preytel is like, "This is my 200th funeral," and she's like, "This is my 157. You get to 300, you get a free toaster."
Yeah, yeah. So just trying to bring any kind of levity to the situation because it's so horrible.
I
Um,
can't even, I mean, I lost my best friend to cancer in 2016, and that still is devastating to me. And I can't even imagine the trauma of losing a whole family or friend group or colleagues,
mhm.
in one full swoop. And
Yeah,
on top of that, having people just not care.
yeah, yeah,
Um, so that's, and it's really interesting watching it in the middle of a pandemic.
yeah.
Um,
Seriously, I know, right?
which
So,
and so we're recording this a little bit after 4th of July weekend. I was so furious this weekend. If you could have seen, like, there probably was like steam coming up from Ybor. You probably could have seen where I was living. I was so mad. I saw there was a picture. Do you know Fire Island?
no, I don't.
So Fire Island is kind of like a party island in New York City. A lot of gay people go there. It's kind of like a P town kind of thing. There's lots of like white parties and circuit parties, and um, it's very traditionally gay. They had this huge party there over the weekend, and there were like hundreds of people, no one wearing masks. There was a guy there who on social media said that he had COVID and proudly went to this party. And I'm like, If anyone should know how to act in a pandemic, it should be gay people. Learn your history. Like we really need to do better.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And that is my TED Talk for the day. Back to fun stuff.
So the whole season is about dreams. So Blanca is following her dreams as well. She's not only pushing her children into following theirs, but she's following hers. She wants to own her own nail salon, right?
Mm-hmm. And she quits her job from that awful boss in
Mm-hmm.
the most perfect way because they're going to. You're starting to see in a glimpse inside the protest movement act up to get the government and larger society to care about all these gay people dying, predominantly gay people of color, and so they're staging this die-in the church, and Blanca was leaving her job, but her boss needed her to take on two more clients, and she doesn't let her leave, so she quits. And I loved it. And she said, I'm going to name my salon after Madonna's Vogue, and then I'm going to become rich, and I'm going to buy this dump from you.
Yeah, I'm basically gonna just run you into the ground, is what she said. So yeah, and she does. She buys a nail salon from
Patty LaPone.
Patty frickin' LaPone. Yes, she does. I was just floored when Patty LaPone made her entrance on Pose. It was perfect.
Oh my God. And she's playing such a heinous woman.
She's awful. She's an awful, awful woman, and I was waiting for her to sing, and she does sing, and she just kills it, of course. Um, but yeah, she is this slumlord basically, and like rents Blanca a storefront without a contract so they can keep everything under the table.
Which you knew that was going to come up because she was like, when she was talking to Blanca, Blanca was like, shouldn't I have a contract? She's like, oh no, you don't need those. It'll help us both for taxes. And then it's like brought up again when like Pray Tell was like, you didn't get a contract? It's like, oh, this is going to be
This
a
is
plot
not,
point.
yeah, this is not gonna be good. So yeah, she finds out that Blanca is transsexual and tries to evict her. And Blanca basically gets a lawyer and starts to fight for it,
Mm-hmm.
fighting for her dream. So at some point, I can't remember who told her, but they're like, "How can?" It might have been Pray Tell. He was like, "How can you expect your children to fight for their dreams if you're not willing to fight for your own?"
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was really cool. I really liked that. So
I loved that moment because I feel like we needed that because Blanca's been so good at believing in others. I love that the show is giving her a dream and and showing the story of her actually believing in herself
hmm
and really taking that leadership role, that it's not just believing in others, you have to also lead by example.
yeah, yeah. So that was great, great plot line. And it continues. It continues. There's more, but I'm not going to spoil it. So
Ooh, it's part
yeah.
2. A little cliffhanger. You're such a tease, LeeAnn.
I know, I know. So, but my very favorite plot line of the season was Elektra becoming a dominatrix.
That there was no more fitting career for Elektra
Well, I mean,
than a.
right? I mean, just she gets to beat people, physically beat people.
I literally want my alarm to just be Elektra saying with a whip snatch.
Pow. Yeah, so
Oh, it like, oh, when she was Paul, his name was Paul. When she
yeah.
was yelling at him, oh,
Well, I mean,
like,
it was just like she's like, I finally found a career that's perfect for me, and she's just like dressed up in this dominatrix costume, and she's got these like 2 inch long nails, and she's just beating this guy, and he's just loving it, and it's hilarious, and she's making money hand over fist doing this. So like she's a hostess at this really upscale restaurant, which is also perfect for her because she gets to tell people that you're not good enough to come in here, go
Right.
away, and they pay her. So yeah, so she's got this second career as a dominatrix, and it's perfect for her. And she's like, I can't believe I finally found the perfect career for myself.
But
So
then things go awry.
so things go awry really badly. She's got a client, Paul, who um, likes to do drugs.
Yes. Never trust a man who likes to do an inordinate amount of poppers.
Yes, yes. So he's doing drugs, and she has him in a hood and like a gas mask.
Yeah, he was like, I have this gas mask that will time release the
The
drugs
drug, yeah.
over time so that, I pay you by the hour, so you'll get more money out of me. And so he was like, give me 20 minutes for it to kick in. And so she goes, she like does her nails. There's like a fabulous montage of Electra just waiting fashionably. She had a cup of tea. I loved that she was like making a cup of tea right before she was about to like whip this guy into submission.
Right, right. So yeah, and she goes back in, and he has overdosed, and he's dead,
Yeah, he choked on his vomit.
which is just disgusting. It was so disgusting.
It was gross. So then she goes to Blanca and this is why I love Electra, because the show gets you right to the point where you're like, she is horrible. And then they show like these vulnerable moments of her and you're like,
They pull you back, and then they say, "Oh man, but look, she's so wonderful." And then she just reads you on the street in front of all your friends, and they
I know.
pull you back. It's like, "Oh my gosh, I just can't believe that just happened."
Well,
So,
I think she was saying like, we fight like alley cats, but when someone from the outside tries to come for us, we fall in line.
mhm, mhm,
And I loved that. I was like, yes, it's like there's so much about family and that felt very family, that
mhm,
they can kind of fight among themselves and be awful to each other. But if someone else who's not family comes for them, they will have each other's back, which
right, right.
so Blanca, of course, this sweet Blanca wants to do the traditionally right thing to do, to call the cops and
The popo, they say.
the popo. And this is the one time where I disagree with Blanca because, as we learn from, because so Electra is like, hell no. Now I shouldn't have. What am I even doing here? Taking advice from you. I'm going to go to Candy. She's the one who can help me in this kind of situation. So she goes to Candy, and Candy knows a person who to try to dissuade them from calling the popo, who was a sex worker. Uh, the man started hitting her. She hit back. The police caught them, and of course, they believed
They
the
believed the man.
man.
Yeah, they believed the man and took her off to jail. And as a transsexual woman of color, of course, she ends up in jail cell with other men. And
Hmm.
it's not a good situation. It's never been traditionally a good situation for transsexual women of color. They're always in such a bad position, and we're used to being beaten and jailed, and nobody cares.
Right.
So she's like, you do not want to end up in Rikers. That is the last place you want to be. So you are a fool if you call the police.
And think that they'll help you.
Yeah, and the whole time this guy's body is just in the Hellfire
In the
Club
sling.
in the sling. Yeah. So and then while they're trying to figure out what to do, because she left, she like ran out of there on her 6-inch heels and to try to get help to find out what to do. It was hilarious. So yeah, so they end up going to Candy and Electra go to Ms. Orlando, who is the underground woman who injects fake silicone into the um, trans women so that they can have a rear end and boobs and stuff like that for a lot less than it would cost if they went through traditional surgery.
Right. And she's
And
also apparently very good at cleaning up.
at cleaning up this kind of mess.
Right. I love when they when they were like, "We know that you're good at this because and so died, and you were the last after getting an injection from you." And she's like, "I only sell the good stuff." She just had a bad
Bad
reaction.
reaction. Yeah, she had a bad reaction. Yeah. So 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 yeah, so they get her to help basically help Electric hide the body.
Yeah, so now Elektra has a literal skeleton in her closet.
Well, it's not a skeleton yet because it spends a
Yet.
good time of the season rotting in her closet. So they get what was it? Was it pleather that they got?
Leather,
They got pleather. They
because
got
it
a
doesn't, leak.
it doesn't leak. So they have a body size piece of pleather. They put him in a suitcase to get him back to Electra's apartment. And this is like high class apartment. She's got this huge walk-in closet for all her furs and stuff. And they put him in pleather and they dust him with, was it lye?
Yeah, I think
They
so.
dust him with lye for the smell, quote unquote, for the smell. It masks the smell. And she said you have to sew it up tight so it doesn't leak because as he starts to decompose, it's going to start to leak. So make sure there's no holes or anything. So they're like stitching up this, and the episode is called Butterfly Cocoon. So they're stitching him up in like this cocoon of pleather so he can decompose in her closet, and they dump him in a trunk and put the trunk in the back of her closet, and he decomposes there all summer long.
I will say one of my favorite moments from that episode was when another moment of Elektra's humanity, when she tells Blanca to go to her room because she knows that she's gonna be going through with hiding the body, and she doesn't want Blanca to be implicated in any way to know anything about
What
what
happened?
the plan is.
Yeah,
So she was like, "I need you to go. You can't hear this."
yeah. And the thing I liked about season two is you see a lot more of Electra's humanity and her love for the girls. And I feel like you see that because she's taking out all her aggression on her clients.
Yeah, it really is. That's such a healthy.
Yeah, it's like she gets to beat them and she's much nicer to her family. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, she just has a lot of, I love that there's a especially because 'cause I'm from New Jersey, so she had her flipping table moment.
Well, that becomes her signature move, right? She says, "This is my new signature move," flipping over the dining room table.
I know, because viewers, you're not only treated to 1 table flip, you get 1. I was happy with that one. I was like, "I died and went to heaven, an electric table flip." And then she leaves the house of Evangelista and goes in to live with Candy and her house, and then for dinner, they're serving Slim Fast and popcorn, and so she leaves in an uproar and she throws the tablecloth.
And everything flies. Yep. She's like, "This
And
is
they were
my
like, "What
new
was that?"
yeah, my new signature move." Snap. So, yeah, it was fabulous.
Ugh, the single best exit. And so the other dream that we're following before we get to this, can we just talk about the character who makes me swoon every single time he's on screen, and it is Poppy.
Oh, little Poppy.
Poppy! The love story between Angel and Pop finally, they get together officially because she doesn't get the Ford modeling thing, so she's all upset, and he goes to console her, and they kiss, and then he's kind of sulking because he thinks that she just kissed him because she was sad,
Right.
but they then actually legitimize things. They make a date. He's gonna take her to this really fancy restaurant, and he's all excited. And then she's getting ready for it, but then gets a call from the Ford modeling agency that they have something for her for Wet and Wild. And she goes on the shoot and she's about to leave for her date. And they're like, oh no, we have you booked until 9 o'clock. Do you want to be a social butterfly or do you want to be a star?
Yeah.
And so she chooses being a star and leaves Poppy, stands him up.
And see, the great thing about that was I'm like watching this with my husband, and he says, why didn't she just call him? And I'm like, it was the early 90s. People didn't have cell phones. No way to call him. He's standing outside the restaurant. It's not like she has the number to the restaurant because she doesn't have a cell phone, can't look it up. And he was like, she could have called 411 information and had the operator connect her to the restaurant. And I'm like, well, I guess so, but that cost money back then. She didn't have any money.
Right.
So it's like, whose phone is she supposed to use to call the operator? So there was no way to tell him, I'm not going to make it. So he gets just blind stood up.
I know he was sitting. Oh, but I love because they have their confrontation and she's like, but I had a good reason and says why she's so excited. And he's like, I'm so excited for you, but also you really hurt me. And I like you were this is your dream, but you're my dream. Oh, it just like makes me cry even thinking about it. Oh, it was so beautiful because he's like, no, don't apologize. This is exactly what you want, but don't take me for granted because I'm just as great as this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So
Poppy, and when Poppy finds out that Blanca has AIDS and is like, I will fight, I will do whatever you need. Oh, Poppy is just the best.
he
I love
is.
Poppy.
He's like, even if you have a sniffle, you just come to me. It was just so, so sweet. He's just like bawling while he's saying that to her. And it's just the sweetest moment. So,
I'm a little nervous because they seem to be reinforcing that he's working double shifts. I'm a little nervous that he is doing something he shouldn't be doing.
okay. Well, I've watched further than you. So
I know,
I'm
well,
not.
don't no spoilers, I'm just saying, I'm just stating it, but it's just like the, "Oh, you didn't have a contract?" moment. I'm like, he said it a few too many times, and it's been, like, a little too vague that I'm like, they're setting us up they're also building us up to love Poppy so much.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
The other storyline that we need to cover is Damon and Rick because Damon they kind of in the first few episodes, I was kind of like, he didn't really get a lot of. I was like, what happened to Damon and his whole dance dream? That was like
Right.
the dream of season one. But then they work it back in, and he's because Blanca has him teaching voguing classes at the YMCA,
Right.
because she knew that all these
All
bridge and
these,
tunnel crowds.
they're going to want to learn. Yeah.
I love when they're interviewing. They're like, "Why are you here?" They're like, "Madonna." That would be me. I would be taking Damon's voguing class. Little 1-year-old Zach was there. Um, and so there's a scout who is just like, "Oh my god, I would have died. I would have died." She was like, on the back of this business card is the address to show up for the audition for Madonna's Blonde Ambition tour.
Mhm. Mhm.
Ugh! And so Damon gets an invite to audition, but so does Ricky, who they both broke up pretty early in the season because Ricky is a no good cheat.
He's a no good cheater. Yes, he is.
And I'm so glad that Damon had the strength to be like, no, I need to I can't do this. I need to like spend time for myself. I know, even though you said you didn't, I know you did cheat. And so they break up, and Ricky joined the House of Wintour, which is Elektra's new house. So
Right?
Elektra is determined to become Madonna's best friend,
Right.
which I can relate. Me too, Elektra. Me too. And so it's a battle between Ricky and Damon to see who can get onto Madonna's Blind Ambition tour. And Elektra is throwing all her money at the problem to like get Ricky into Madonna quality shape
Style. Hmm.
and style. And but she's also playing dirty.
Of course.
Because she takes Candy's hammer and says, "Whoever throws this hammer on Damon's foot, I will let you come with me to be Madonna's best friend."
So, of course, her children in her house are not down for that. So they end up telling Blanca what's going on. And Blanca um, goes to Elektra and is like, no, you are not doing this. They can do this fair and square. And this is not happening, basically.
Right,
So,
because if
yeah,
either of them get it, it's a win for all of us.
that's right. That's right.
And I love because I was that was another moment where they play with my emotions with Elektra because I was like, "Elektra, how could you do this? Don't do this. This is so evil." And
Well, it was a
I love her
very
excuse.
Tanya
She was like,
Harding moment, right?
I know. I was like the original Tanya Harding,
Yeah.
Elektra. I love it. She's like, they were like, "What do you say? Like, how did you tell them? Like, oh, sorry, I just dropped this hammer." And she's like, "Just say, oh, I just put on this extra lubricated hand lotion." And the hammer just slipped out of my hands.
That's funny. That's funny. So the last thing we need to talk about, and then we're gonna cliffhang everybody for the last bit of season 2, is the Candy storyline.
Yes.
So this was probably the saddest thing in season 2. And it was overall, I thought it was a pretty sad season. I mean, there were a lot of really heart wrenching moments during this season.
Yeah, every episode I'm in tears.
Yes. So Candy, she's a sex worker. Um, and they go back and forth during the show about, you shouldn't be doing this. This is very dangerous. And they're like, but I don't have any other way of making money. How am I going to make money? But you shouldn't be doing this. Let's find you something else. And so she ends up going back into the sex trade without most of her family knowing.
Mhm.
Um, but Lulu, who is house mother, co-mother with her in the House of Ferocity, is like she doesn't come home one night, and so Lulu goes to Blanca. Does she go to Blanca? I think she goes to Blanca, and is like,
Yes. Mhm.
she didn't come home. Candy didn't come home. I don't know what to do. And she's like, she basically turns tricks over at this hotel. So they go over to the hotel and are trying to bribe the guy at the desk to let them into the room. He won't. So they leave her Candy's picture and their phone number in case he sees anything, hears anything. Please call us, let us know, or whatever. And so they end up finding out later. He sends the maid into the room because the room is they don't turn the key back in, and it's been a really long time, and they basically rent those rooms by the hour. So he's kind of like, I need to find out what's going on. So he sent the maid up to clean the room, and of course, she finds Candy murdered and left in the closet.
Mm. And they were building and Candy was such an interesting character because she was not very uh she was not as polished as everyone else. Like every time she tried to perform, it kind of fell flat. But I loved Elektra at one point was like, Candy wasn't a thinker, she was a doer. She didn't have time to sit around and think about how am I going to do this. She just did it.
Yeah, I mean, she was really good at one category. She could do
Face.
the face category, but she always tried the Vogue category, and she couldn't Vogue. And they kept saying, Pray Tell was like, girl, you are not a
Her foam
dancer.
feathers.
Yeah, she just could not do any of it. She couldn't walk runway. She couldn't do any of it. But the one thing she really was good at it, and she wanted to do, and was trying to convince them to add the category of lip sync. And they were like, no, we're not going to add that category. That's stupid. That's just, and she's like, but this is what I'm good at, and I can be a star at this. And Pray Tell was like, you kill face category every single time. Why can't you be content with that and stop trying to be what you're not? And and she's just like, you never liked me. You always throw shade, and so she's got this attitude, and she doesn't really come across very likable at all.
Well, she throws either her hammer or draws a knife on people.
Yeah, when she got into the knife fight with Elektra on the ballroom floor, that was just like classic. That
Oh
was
my god,
classic.
Electra pulling out the knife from her bra. Oh my god.
So yeah, so it was really interesting to see how they all came out for her.
And they
And
all had kind of so and the episode I thought did a really cool thing with have they each kind of main character had a conversation with Candy's ghost pretty much
mhm,
um, throughout the funeral, and Candy's birth parents even come to the funeral at the end, and there's a really moving conversation between her and her mother and her father, and how they weren't able to accept her for who she was, and um this season I think was so far is so powerful, particularly in this moment with just everything that's going on with Black Lives Matter, and you know looking at a time when people didn't care about these lives,
mhm,
and you know, people were dying in mass and no one cared, and even the storyline with Elektra hiding the dead body, there's so many storylines that are about these characters don't have any other option. There are no
mhm.
choices. And like I love when Elektra's praying over the body of Paul and is like, dear God, we we know that he deserves better than this, but this is our only option. And if we
Right.
had other options, we would do anything but this, but this is what we have to do. And same with like and it's still happening today with a lot of trans women, particularly trans women of color, are forced into sex work because that's the only work that they can get. And that work is that puts them in more danger and makes them more vulnerable to violence. And even though this is set in 1990, just we're 6 months into this year, and already 21 trans people, predominantly trans people of color, have been murdered in the United States, according to the Human Rights Campaign. And so this is still very much a very active issue that um, needs to be a part of the conversation, because um, the stories like Candy's are still happening today in
Mhm,
far too high of a number.
mhm. Yeah. So yeah, it was a really interesting storyline. I found it. I was. They didn't want her to end up in a mass grave like all of their friends ended up in a mass grave. Their friends who died of AIDS, who were unclaimed, and so they end up bribing the guy at the morgue, basically, to release her body to them. And they take all of their money from their dues at the balls to pay for her funeral, and for her to have a real funeral. And it was really beautiful. It was very
Hmm.
sad, very sad. But at the end, Pray Tell adds a lip sync category to the balls to honor Miss Candy. And at the end, they have her ghost come in and lip sync. I never knew love like this before.
I never knew. What is it? Love.
Oh, you don't even know the song? I never knew love like this before. I don't know what you were thinking of. Crazy. Okay, so next week,
Ooh.
we're
Give me
going to
some
talk about.
teases. Give me some tease.
I don't know if I can tease it. Okay, so there are two characters that start dating that are an unlikely couple. We got a May December romance. Um, the girls take a trip to the beach, which is a combo vacation and electro working. So chew on that. And they add a new category.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to see how this
They
unfolds.
add a new category. So to the balls. So that's what's going on. So we'll be talking about that next week.
All right, till then, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and we'll catch you next week.